Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're going deep on organizational change with, using your source material, which is excerpts from the book Switch
Hmm?
by Chip and Dan Heath. We're gonna figure out how to motivate that stubborn elephant inside all of us, and trust me, the Heath brothers have some pretty surprising tricks up their sleeves.
One thing that really struck me was their emphasis on emotion. They argue that change isn't just about logic; it's about tapping into our feelings and desires.
Yeah, it's like their whole bright, wavy goals concept. It sounds catchy, but it's more than just a clever phrase.
Exactly. Bright means crystal clear, right? A goal so vivid that everyone instantly knows what success looks like.
Yeah.
And wavy acknowledges that the path to that goal, well, might have some detours along the way.
Yeah, and the example they use from BP's No Dry Holes initiative, I think, really brings this to life. To slash exploration costs, they set a goal to eliminate dry holes entirely. Now, that's a pretty audacious goal for an industry where dry holes were considered a fact of life.
Oh yeah, you can imagine how the explorers reacted to that. I mean, they thought it was impossible. But that's the point. BP wanted to shake things up and force a different way of thinking.
So instead of accepting the status quo, this seemingly impossible goal, push them to re-examine, their entire process leading to a tripling of their success rate.
It is fascinating. The idea that aiming for the seemingly impossible can unlock potential we didn't even know we had. By eliminating any wiggle room, BP forced themselves to find solutions and innovate. Have you ever experienced the power of a bold objective like that?
Oh, definitely. When I have a vague goal, it's easy to kind of lose motivation or make excuses. But when it's clear and challenging, it's like a whole different level of energy kicks in.
Precisely. And it makes you wonder how much we hold ourselves back by setting goals that are too easy to achieve.
Okay, so another big idea from Switch that grabbed me was see, feel change. It seems so obvious now, but it's interesting how we often try to convince people. With data and logic alone,
Yeah, the Heaths argue that change often requires an emotional connection. We need to help people feel the need for change, not just think about it.
like the story of Robin Waters at Target. Instead of bombarding her colleagues with spreadsheets to convince them to become a more design-focused brand, she brought in things like colorful M&Ms and M's and those vibrant iMac computers. The ones that were all the rage back then.
By creating these visual experiences, she helped her colleagues feel the power of design, sparking their imagination and desire for change in a way that data alone couldn't achieve.
It makes you think, right? Have you ever been in a situation where data just wasn't enough to convince someone, but appealing to their emotions might have worked? It's definitely something to consider.
Absolutely. Sometimes a compelling story or a visceral experience can be far more persuasive than logic alone.
Now, the Heaths acknowledge that change can be daunting, especially for our emotional side. So they suggest a strategy called shrink the change.
The idea is to make the change feel less overwhelming by breaking it down into smaller, more manageable steps. They use the example of hotel maids who started losing weight simply by being told their work was exercise.
Wait, what? Just by reframing their work? That's wild.
It seems reframing their daily routine as exercise shifted their mindset and made them more conscious of their physical activity.
So it wasn't just a placebo effect.
Right. And they point to research like the Head Start car wash study, where people were more motivated to complete a loyalty card if they were given a head start, even if the total effort required was the same. It suggests that a feeling of progress, however small, can be a powerful motivator. Like we're tricking our brains into thinking, hey, we're already partway there, might as well keep going.
This ties in nicely with the idea of a growth mindset, which the Heaths also explore.
Exactly. People with a growth mindset embrace challenges and
Yeah.
see setbacks as opportunities for learning. It's about believing that your abilities can be developed, like a muscle you can strengthen with practice.
So it's the opposite of a fixed mindset, where people believe their abilities are set in stone. That sounds pretty limiting.
It can be, yeah. And the Heaths emphasize the importance of praising effort and perseverance, rather than just innate talent. It's about celebrating the journey of growth, not just the end result.
This resonates with me. It makes me wonder, how do I react to setbacks? Do I see them as opportunities to learn and grow, or do I get discouraged easily? Something we should all consider.
It's a valuable exercise in self-awareness. Understanding our own mindset can be a powerful first step in embracing change and achieving our goals.
As we delve deeper into Switch, it's becoming clear that successful change often hinges on understanding our emotional selves and those around us.
It's not about ignoring logic, but recognizing that emotions play a huge role in how we act and react. The Heaths highlight a concept called shaping the path, which I find particularly insightful.
Okay, shaping the path. What's that all about?
It's the idea that we can subtly influence behavior by making it easier to take the desired action. They cite a study where people were more willing to put up an ugly billboard on their lawn if they'd previously agreed to display a small sign supporting the same cause.
Oh, interesting. So by starting with a small request, you increase the likelihood of them agreeing to a bigger one later on.
Exactly. It's like those, foot in the door techniques. By getting someone to agree to something small, they begin to see themselves as someone who supports that cause, making them more receptive to larger requests down the line.
Yeah, that's clever. And it seems like a strategy we could use in many areas of life.
Absolutely. The Heaths offer a bunch of practical tips for shaping the path. For instance, they talk about the power of building habits, making the desired behavior automatic.
Like brushing our teeth. We do it without thinking because it's become a habit. So if we can make positive changes into habits, they'll require less effort.
Exactly. And they also emphasize tweaking the environment to make it easier to do the right thing. Think about it. If you keep healthy snacks in plain sight and hide the junk food, you're more likely to make a healthy choice.
It's like setting yourself up for success. It's so much easier to resist temptation when it's not staring you in the face.
Right. Another powerful idea is rallying the herd, leveraging social norms to encourage change.
Yeah, I can see how that would be effective. We tend to follow the lead of others, especially those we admire or see as part of our group.
The Heaths share an example of a university that wanted to reduce binge drinking. Instead of focusing on the negative consequences, they highlighted the fact that most students already drank responsibly.
So they shifted the focus to the positive behavior, making it the norm rather than the exception.
Exactly. And by shining a spotlight on what was working, they created a social norm that encouraged responsible drinking. Sometimes celebrating what's already going well can be more effective than focusing on what's not.
It makes me think about how we can apply that in other areas. Like if you want to encourage your team to be more collaborative, maybe highlighting the times they already work well together could be more effective than lecturing them on the importance of teamwork.
That's a great example. It's about framing the desired behavior as something that's already happening,
Yeah.
even if it's just in small pockets, and then building on that momentum.
Now, the Heaths also talk about finding the feeling, which seems particularly relevant when we talk about rallying the herd.
Absolutely. They argue that emotions are key drivers of change, and we need to identify and amplify the right emotions to motivate action. They caution against relying too much on fear or anxiety, as those can lead to resistance and burnout.
So what kind of emotions should we focus on?
They advocate for finding positive emotions, like hope, pride, and a sense of purpose. They share the story of an accountant in Massachusetts who was known for being, strict and rule-bound, but his attitude completely changed after he visited some of the nonprofits that relied on the agency he worked for.
I'm guessing seeing the impact of his work firsthand triggered a shift in his perspective.
Exactly. He connected with the human side of his job, and it made him more empathetic and motivated to support those organizations.
So it was less about logic and more about feeling the impact of his actions.
Right. Sometimes connecting with the human element of a situation can be more powerful than any data or logic.
The Heaths also highlight the importance of celebrating small wins to create a sense of progress and momentum.
They even mention a financial guru who encourages people to pay off their smallest debts first, even if they have others with higher interest rates. It may not make sense financially, but it creates a feeling of accomplishment that keeps people motivated.
It's like those inch pebbles we were talking about earlier. Those small wins, even if seemingly insignificant, can keep the momentum going.
Exactly. It reinforces the idea that we're making progress, which is crucial for staying motivated, especially when the goal feels far off. It all ties back to nurturing a growth mindset, believing that we can improve and achieve our goals.
So we've talked about shaping the path, finding the feeling, and embracing a growth mindset. What other strategies do the Heaths suggest for keeping that elephant motivated and moving forward? It's amazing how much of change comes down to not just our own psychology, but how we interact with others. Speaking of which, the Heaths have this idea they call rallying the herd, and it really made me think about social influence in a new way.
What's fascinating about rallying the herd is the recognition that we humans are wired to be influenced by what those around us are doing. It's not about being sheep. It's about a deeper social instinct.
Right. It's like that study they mentioned where People reduce their energy consumption just because they were told their neighbors were doing the same. No
Yeah.
rewards, no punishments, just the power of social norms.
And that's the key insight here. If we believe a certain behavior is expected or admired within our group, well, we're more likely to adopt it ourselves. It's like an invisible force shaping our actions.
So instead of lecturing people about what they should be doing, we can highlight what others are already doing successfully. Show, don't tell, right?
Precisely. The Heaths call these examples bright spots, individuals or groups who are already exhibiting the desired behavior. By showcasing their stories and successes, we can create a ripple effect and inspire others to follow suit.
Yeah, it reminds me of that college campus that wanted to reduce binge drinking. They didn't focus on the negative, but instead highlighted the fact that most students already drank responsibly.
And it worked. By shifting the spotlight to the positive, they changed the perception of what was normal and created a culture where moderate drinking became the expected behavior.
This really challenges the way we typically approach change, doesn't it? Instead of pointing out problems, we can showcase solutions that are already emerging. It's a much more positive and empowering approach.
It certainly is. And the Heaths offer some other great tips for rallying the herd. They talk about making the desired behavior more visible, maybe through public displays of progress or testimonials. Even something as simple as using social media to spread the word can help create that sense of momentum.
It's about creating that feeling of, hey, everyone's doing this, maybe I should too. Almost like a positive form of peer pressure.
Exactly. And they even suggest tapping into our competitive spirit by creating friendly rivalries between teams or departments. It's about channeling that drive to win towards a positive goal.
It's amazing how Switch brings together psychology, sociology, and even a bit of good old-fashioned common sense. The examples they use from oil fields to hotel rooms to college campuses really show how these principles can apply to practically any situation.
The Heaths have given us a powerful framework for understanding and navigating the complexities of change. It's not about forcing people to change, but about creating the conditions that make change more likely.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with the feeling that change isn't some magical formula. It's about understanding human nature and tapping into our motivations, both individually and as a group.
And remembering that change is a journey, not a destination. It's messy, it's iterative, and it requires patience and persistence.
So the next time you face a change challenge, remember the insights from Switch. How can you direct the rider, motivate the elephant, and shape the path? How can you rally the herd and create a culture where positive change becomes the norm?
And above all, remember the power of those inch pebbles, those small wins that build momentum and pave the way for extraordinary transformations.
Well, this deep dive has been a real eye-opener. Thanks for joining us.
It's been my pleasure. Until next time.